Good afternoon, everybody. I hope this finds you all well today. Not my best day. um, not falling on top of the world today. But anyway, this is number 12 of the 12 favorite scripture video talks. There could be more video talks to come, but we'll be finished with the series of the 12 of my favorites that were on my scripture quilt. Anyway, this one is taken from Habakkuk 2, and it's 2-3. Then the Lord replied, "Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets so that a herald may run with it. For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger or wait for it, it will certainly come and will not delay." Now let me give you the background here. In 2004, my husband and I were both training to be church planters in our church denomination. And so we were both going through training, and I was training to get my consecration license, I think it was, and he was going to get his ordination because our denomination did not ordain women, which is fine with me. Anyway, so we were going through that process, and right in the middle of that, I got a hold of my grandmother's journals. I never met my grandmother because she died when I was 2 years old. The journals had been lost for years, and then they were found, and I was able to get them and read them. As soon as I started to read them, I started to cry because I identified with her in so many different ways that I didn't identify with with other members of my family. I identified with some of them in other ways, but it was just really special to me it was like getting to know my grandmother, for the first time. But she had this passage of scripture she kept quoting, but she didn't give a scripture reference, so I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if it was a quote from a book, because she had a devotion book that she liked to read, and I thought maybe it was from there. And then one day I decided to look it up and realized that it was this passage in Habakkuk. And so that kept showing up in her journal. And then we were somewhere for something, and I heard it again. And then I went to one of our conferences. My husband was not able to go because he had hurt his back, and so I went with a group of people with our denomination, and somebody was teaching on this passage there at that conference. But anyway, it kept showing up, and I just really felt like the Lord had a message for me through it. And also at this conference, the Lord just spoke to me through so many of the messages that were spoken. But this one person said something about, give your ministry over to the Lord. It's not yours to hold on to or to keep. That the Lord may have something else for you to do that you would never have thought of in your imagination. And that really jumped out at me because we were preparing to be church planters. And I'm not going to go into what happened after that other than to say that the Lord definitely closed that door to the church planting. And as soon as that door closed, he opened the door for the ministry that he gave me that I have now. And how this scripture related to that was, it says, write down the revelation. Well, the scriptures are the revelations of God, to us. And I was supposed to write down what, just for my quiet time each day, what the Lord was teaching me. Some of it was him showing me things that I didn't know about, that were going on in the world or in the church that I was not aware of. A lot of it was uh, unlearning things that I had learned wrongly, because we aren't always taught all the truth, you know. And so I had a lot to learn, and he had me going through the scriptures over and over and over and over, and and then he led me more into sharing, just sharing my devotions and what he's teaching me, you know, through his word each day. More like writing devotions, and um, but it says to make it plain on tablets. Well, you know, a tablet in our day and time is an electronic device, uh, like a computer, in which we write things, and it says so that a herald may run with it. And a herald is somebody who proclaims, you know, something. And what I realized he was saying to me is, I want you to write down what I'm teaching you through your times with me today in the Word, and I want you to then put it on the internet. You know, I mean, write it on my computer, and then to put it on the internet. The internet is the herald that runs with it, because the internet takes stuff all over the world, you know, to people all over the world, and doesn't mean it goes in every single area of the world, but you know, across the globe. And then it talks about it waiting for an appointed time and speaking of the end, and um, it I don't know exactly, you know, how that applies, other than I do feel that that we are in those last days, and that God called me to this ministry specifically because we are in these last days, and that the urgency to share what he gives me to share is critical because of the times that we live in, and we can see the signs of those times in our world, in the governments of our world, in the politics, you know, that are going on, decisions that are made for our lives that we have no control over, in the things that are going on in the church, like the church, at least in America, overall has become a business of men, incorporated under the state, and they're run just like businesses, and they're being marketed to the world just like businesses, and so that they're diluting the gospel message and watering it down to make it more acceptable to human flesh and to the people of the world. And so we have a whole lot of people claiming faith in Jesus Christ who are still living like they never believed in Jesus Christ, and so that there's hardly any difference between the people of the world and people who say they believe in Jesus. You go to a gathering of non-Christians, or you go to a gathering of Christians, and in many ways there's no difference. You know, they talk about the same things, do the same things, watch the same things, you know, and that doesn't mean that we can't uh, that we can't watch some of the same things that the world watches if what we're watching is not against, you know, the purity of what our lives are supposed to be. Um, so anyway, the main thing about this is that this is ended up being God's calling on my life, and that's why I am where I am today. That's why you're listening to me now. And it wasn't just writing. Then he had, and then he gave me the gift of writing songs, and there's like close to 200 of them now posted on the internet. And then he gave me poems to write and a book to write about my life. And then and he's having me do taught videos now, which I've mentioned before is not my forte, not my comfort zone. As you can tell, I'm not a public speaker, but that's okay because it's like we're friends, and you're sitting across from the living room from me, and I'm just talking to you like I just talk to anybody else that's sitting across the living room from me. So with all my stuttering and, you know, everything I thought, um and my mind sometimes going from one thing to another, you know, that's all part of who I am. And anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and that will be our last of the 12 favorite scriptures. And I guess it's fitting to end with the one that was actually instrumental in the Lord calling me to this ministry, and to let you know how that came about, in case you didn't already know, because I know I've shared it quite a few times. But anyway, that's it for today, and I hope all is well with you, and that the Lord is blessing your lives, and that you're listening to Him and you're following Him with your lives, and because that's the most important thing, and that you're sharing Jesus Christ and His gospel with other people. Okay, so I love God, I love you, and that's why I'm here doing what I do.